Welcome to this stream recap video. If you want to be notified when I stream, subscribe or follow my Twitter page where I announce when I go live. Let's get started. I worked on creating a character reference sheet for when I 3D model. It's nothing too fancy, I just need some references to the proportions of the character. Here you can see that I'm trying to get the size of the character or the height, and I want it to be about 4 heads tall. What I'll often do is try to get inspiration from other 3D characters. I'm not the greatest artist out there, so I kind of tend to get proportions and anatomy wrong, so I kind of need a little reference to see if I'm going the right direction. Here I'm trying to decide whether I should have the character in a T pose or an A pose. In my experience in the past is if I have it in a T pose, sometimes it's a bit harder to get some deformations, especially in a low poly model. And the A pose works as a good starting point since, you know, that's kind of in the halfway point of all the deformations the character is going to be in. Whether it's like stretching his arms up high or just keeping him on his side. And that has worked out for me in the past, so that's kind of the route I'm going to be taking. Here I'm kind of just fixing up some proportions. I noticed that the legs seem a bit too short. And I'm checking again to see that if the character is 4 heads tall like I wanted it to be. And it seems to be a bit bigger than 4 heads, probably like 4.5. But that seems to be okay to me. The character looks fine, and I'll change it up a little bit. And it's not final yet, this is just for reference purposes. When I model it, then I'll get like the big picture and see if, you know, it should be any taller or any shorter. Now I should probably mention what the purpose of this model is. So I'm working on a 3D infinite runner game at the moment. I haven't really said much about it recently. I'm hoping to change that soon and make some kind of devlogs on the channel. But the purpose of the model is just to visualize the character for the prototype stage of the game. That is why I'm not giving it any details to it. I just need a base to work with. Apart from the front view, something that's super helpful for me when modeling is making sure that there's a side view that I could look at and reference. And this is what I start doing here, just laying out some guides so I can know where do things line up, and it just makes it a whole lot easier for me to go in there and start drawing it out. The hard part here really is translating those details over from one view to the other. This could be super challenging, especially for someone like me who doesn't draw too often. And I kind of made the mistake of not including any features like the eyes or the nose, because when drawing it on a profile view, something that sticks out a lot is the nose, and it's important to know where that is. And the eyes kind of help you guide where the nose is. especially in this type of anime chibi style. And that's something I'd do differently next time, is make sure I just get like a base, you know, eye in there, base eyes and nose and a mouth too. That makes it a lot easier because, you know, it starts looking kind of weird and kind of funny with where the eyes are positioned. And it's just kind of, it was kind of hard for me. Like I couldn't really get the right proportions of the head even. And I had to get some reference later on and really figure out how that works. So I just went back to the front view model and, you know, drew some eyes in there so I could really like know where I'm supposed to be placing these on the side view and where this, because the eyes kind of define like the shape of the head almost, if that makes sense. Like especially the forehead, that kind of tells the forehead where to like end and, you know, make a kind of like a little gap for the eyes. And I was really just struggling trying to get like a chin, because I honestly couldn't think of how a chin would work, so I had to look that up. And that's really just probably the biggest advice that I'd give is when drawing something, it's really hard to come up with it on your own, like unless you're like really talented and have practiced a lot of times. But when starting off, really don't hesitate to use any references. That's what they're there for. And at the end of the day, that's what you want, right? A character that's, you know, pleasing to look at. And especially for here, I gotta make sure that things are in correct proportions, because apart from it being a prototype model that I'll be using, it's gonna serve as like the base mesh of every other character that I make. I'm planning on having multiple characters in this game that derive from this base mesh or base model. And it's important to get, you know, this stuff correct. And you want, like, I want to have a solid foundation for these characters. And here the head kind of starts looking a little bit better. I kind of don't like that from a perspective, you know, you look at the front view and then you look at the side view, it kind of doesn't look like the same character. Some of that might have to do with the type of line art that I'm using. On the second, it's kind of more refined because I'm really trying to get the shape right, as opposed to the first one that I'm kind of more acquainted with, you know, front views. So it was a bit easier for me to loosely draw it out, and that led to thicker lines. It doesn't matter as much because I'm a solo dev on this project, and I want to get this done as quickly as possible so I can work on the rest of the game. And this is kind of what the final art looked like. It's pretty sketchy, but it's enough to get me started on the 3D model. So subscribe to be notified for the next stream, which is when I'll begin modeling the character. Thank you for watching this far and hope to see you in the stream. Bye bye now.